All right, everybody. Welcome back to the Heated Exchange, brought to you by Blitz. This is episode 19. I cannot believe we're almost at 20. We have a very special episode today for you guys for multiple reasons. First off, it's already week 16, semifinals of the playoffs. But more importantly today, we have a very special guest on the show. Jett, you want to introduce us to our very special guest?
Yeah, the first time we're having a guest on the podcast, we were very excited because this guest we've mentioned briefly across several other episodes. He is a member of the Blitzalytics Fantasy League, and it just so happens that this week, me and him will be facing off in the semifinals of the Blitz League. So we are happy to introduce David Connors to the podcast, one of our coworkers over at Blitzalytics.com. David, how you doing today?
Hey, what's up, guys? Awesome to be on the show. It's good that you guys finally got the number one team in the league on the show to finally help people win their fantasy championships.
Well, first off, I've been on the show this entire time, so that hasn't been an issue.
I mean, I think we all can say that we all have a good shot at winning this league. Obviously, we all want to win the league, but just looking ahead at obviously David and I, we play each other. This week, as of right now, I'm not sure. You probably haven't set your lineup yet. I'm looking at it right now. You don't have a defense in, but as it currently stands, I am projected to beat you by 19. But barring you will be putting a defense in, it's gonna be definitely an entertaining matchup. There's really not many holes in either of our lineups. I would say my biggest hole is my tight end position now with Pat Freiermuth out as well as TJ Hawkinson out. So I'm probably going to start Hunter Henry. And I mean, I'm just looking at your lineup, David. I don't know if you feel like you have a big hole or how you think your lineup is going to pan out this week.
Yeah, I think I went ahead and picked up defenses ahead of time. Anyone who's at this level of playoffs, you shouldn't try to be this week looking forward. So I've got the Eagles going up against the Giants this week. I mean, even if it's Daniel Jones or Mike Glennon, I feel great about that matchup. My biggest hole, I think, is my bottom flex. It's my non-super flex where I have Jameson Crowder right now. That needs to change.
Yeah, I would agree. He's not a very reliable option. But fortunately for you, you're playing Jett, so you could probably get away with it.
Well, I mean, I just picked up Antonio Brown this morning and slotted him at my number 2 flex. Barring that he does play, I feel like he is going to be a nice flex option this week, considering that Chris Godwin is out and potentially Mike Evans could be out, who, David, you have in your lineup. But David, I just want to kind of get your take on how this season has gone, not only for your fantasy team in general, but how you think the fantasy season has went overall so far.
NFL season as a whole, what a crazy year we are, where one field goal kick by the Raiders took the Cleveland Browns being the number one team in the AFC North to the 11th team in the AFC in general. Yeah. I mean, it's just been a want to go. Fantasy goes, man, I had it rough. I went Allen Robinson and Brandon Ayuk early in a lot of leagues, and that bit me in the tail. And I whipped on both of those. But fortunately, I also went heavy in Cooper Kupp in a lot of my leagues, so that kind of helped balance that out.
I mean, Cooper Kupp's had one of the best years I've ever seen, just out of nowhere. Certainly helped me. He carried my team in a couple leagues. I was very fortunate to have him. But I mean, you're right. What a crazy NFL season it's been. I mean, the Bills not being as good as at least I thought they would be. The Chiefs having struggled early. The Patriots being one of the best teams in the AFC. It's been a roller coaster over a year.
And the Lions just stomped the Cardinals as we all predicted.
Yeah,
that was. No, I can't imagine anyone who really saw that coming.
Especially after the Cardinals lost to the Rams a week before. I mean, you think they would have been hungry for a revenge game, but they just did not look great at all.
No, but before we get into our first topic, I'm gonna open up the floor to you two, since you two have this big matchup going on. this week. We're going to make this like an open floor discussion. I'm just going to sit back. I'm going to let you two duke it out with each other. I really hope you two beat each other's heads off. So, Jett, how do you feel your chances are against David this week? Do you think you're going to win? It's a yes or no question.
I do think I'm going to win. I believe despite, David having the best player in fantasy, I just look at my team and I feel like I have a more balanced team than him. Obviously, he does have Najee Harris, who's due for a bounce back game. We'll see the status of Mike Evans. Joe Mixon has not been great as of late. I just look at especially my two QBs, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, if he does end up playing, along with my solid group of running backs. Austin Eckler, obviously, if he plays, David Montgomery, James Robinson has a solid matchup. We'll talk about him later on. In my opinion, I feel like I have a more balanced team. Obviously, David is the number one seed for a reason.
Don't be nice. Don't be all sweet. No,
he deserves that spot for a reason. Obviously, I just think that while Cooper Kupp has carried him for this long, I think that might end this week against me.
All right. Well, David, now that Jett's, been so humble with you, but, behind, you may not know this, but behind your back, he's been talking a lot about this matchup and he's been really slamming your team. So now that you've heard Jett's side, David, how do you feel about your chances against Jett this week? And don't be modest. This is no time to be modest.
You're not going to love this answer, Austin, but I'm nervous. I mean, I've had Zeke and Joe as my top two running backs all year. I mean, he mentioned Najee Harris too, but those two have really slid these last few weeks. And then, of course, Mike Evans getting hurt last week. I have a lot of holes to fill. I'm probably going to take a couple of Hail Marys. I do think Jett has a better chance to win this week. But with that said, Jett, do you want to make this interesting?
Yeah, I do.
Ooh. All right. Let's see here. How about this? One of my favorite charities here in Florida is Give the Children the World charity. It's a cool it's kind of like a resort for children dealing with terminal illnesses in Orlando, and they do a nice job treating children, take them to the parks down there. If I beat you, you'd pledge $10 to that charity, and then if you beat me, I'll pledge $10 to your favorite charity.
Awesome! Yeah, I'll definitely think of a charity that I can can put the proceeds towards, but I'm definitely down to do that. That would be a great thing for both of us. No matter who wins, it'll go towards a great cause. So that definitely sounds like a good idea.
Season.
I like that.
Exactly, I like that. Speaking of test the season, you just released an article yesterday, actually, pertaining to fantasy football and some of the players we mentioned before. But why don't you give everybody a little glimpse if they have not already looked at that article already?
Oh yeah, I wrote this for the first time last year. Really enjoyed it. It's the Cliche Holiday Gifts Awards and Fantasy Football Awards. Basically, I go through and pick the cliche gifts you get. Like a good example is the old small box and a big box trick. You see that big box and they're all season long. You're excited to open it, and then you get there and it's just a small box, and it was inside the big box. So that's kind of a player who you were super pumped to draft. You thought you had the win, and then it just disappointment. And then another cliche one for me is like the Microsoft Zune, which when I was in high school, all the cool kids had an iPod, and I asked for an iPod that particular year, and I got a Microsoft Zune. Super disappointed about it, but quickly realized it's the same exact thing, and I got over that pretty quickly.
Who's if you can just give us a little sneak peek, who's one of the players that you talk about in your article?
I mean, I hit the big ones, Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp. I hit those up. More to give a kind of a different name that you haven't been hearing. Allen Robinson was the Grinch. The Grinch rode into Whoville, stole Christmas, just like Allen Robinson rode into all my lineups and stole my wide receiver, my third round pick in most of my leagues.
Absolutely, yeah. I read the article. It's a great read. I definitely recommend for anyone out there who wants a different take on the traditional awards for fantasy football. I would definitely go check that out. But before we move on to the next topic, I want Austin, because obviously he has no bias in my matchup versus David. Austin, do you have a prediction for our matchup, and then you can preview your own matchup as well?
Well, I am someone who has always embraced the underdog status. And since David is so confident he's an underdog, I'm going to predict that David upsets you this week, mainly because I just want you to lose. lose. If I'm being honest with you, this is personal. So I think David's going to win just because I'm giving him my positive vibes. And I really want you and your beer to lose this week.
Austin wants to lose to me personally. I get it. I
I want to beat you personally in the finals.
Well, so, Austin also wants me to lose now so he doesn't have to face me in the championship. So
listen, honestly, if you lose now, I'm gonna laugh at you. And if I beat you in the championship, I'm still gonna laugh at you. Either way, it's a lose for you. This season's wrapped up. This is my league. I told you that from week one. This is my league with a full team. I've been playing a lot better lately. My team's been performing lately.
I don't know. Those careless mistakes you had early on in the year where you forgot to, put certain guys in your lineup. I mean, that could end up coming to get you. So
did it really? Because I still ended up getting the number 1 seed, even with that mistake.
Aren't you the number 2 seed?
Am I the number 2 seed?
Yeah, you were.
I'm number 2 seed. Okay.
Well, you don't even know.
Well, I just keep on winning. I don't really keep track of where I am. I just know I keep on winning. That's all that really matters. And frankly, I have a pretty easy matchup this week with Nick. So
that's your prediction for your matchup, obviously, that you think you're gonna just wipe the floor with him. That's what you think.
Yes. And
matter
of fact, I'm so confident. I'm not even gonna be keeping track of that matchup. I'm just gonna look at my phone on Sunday night and just see. Take a quick peep at it and just see I'm destroying him, and then be done with it. And then I can't wait to face David next week.
David, do you think it's possible that Nicholas can upset Austin?
No.
Honestly, we're gonna look at this in real time. I have not looked at this matchup at all. I've been disturbed with my own, so I'm gonna take a look at this in real time and give my prediction here. Let's see here. Oh my goodness. Oh, I'm sorry, Nick. Goodness. Oh, that's bad. LaVisca should know.
Yeah.
He has 2 Jaguars receivers in the same lineup.
Yeah. I don't know how he made it to the semifinals, but like I said, it was a very valiant effort on his part. He had a very wonderful season. Give credit where credit due, but that hit his road. This is where his road.
Trevor Lawrence has thrown 1 touchdown in like the last 7-8 weeks, and he has 2 wide receivers from that team.
Yeah.
I mean, Mark Andrews and Dallas Goedert really were the ones that carried him last week.
And I don't expect Mark Andrews to have another big game like that this week, especially in a divisional rivalry with the Bengals. I think the Bengals are going to come out hard this week, and I do not expect Andrews to have that kind of game again.
I mean, he does. I'm looking at his bench. He has the Trey Law. He could stack it up. What a Hail Mary that would be.
I really hope he does. That would just make it a lot more fun to mop the floor with him. So like I said, I will be having a date next week with one of you, probably David, because Jett always chokes. And I can't wait for that. But I'm really excited for your matchup. Honestly, I'm probably gonna be keeping track of your matchup more than mine.
All right, we'll see what happens. I mean, it's going to be exciting no matter what happens, no matter who wins in our match with David. It's definitely going to go to a good cause.
It matters. See, Jett, you're being modest again. Stop being modest. No one buys it. And by the way, while we're on the topic of playoff matchups, David, I don't know if you know this, but me and Jett get to square off again this year in our home league for the 3rd time. And again, I can't wait to see Jett fall again. Like, David, me and David have something in common. We're both going to beat you this week. Like, it just works out so beautifully.
You're a lucky guy, Jett.
Well, I mean, David, you might not know this, but my all-time record against Austin in this aforementioned league is 8-3.
It is. It is.
He has had issues beating me. He does on paper. He probably has a better team than me, but I'm gonna just embrace that. I'm gonna embrace that underdog mentality, even though his team name is, underdog status. So.
Underdog status because I came into the year with very low expectations. But,
all right, we don't want to get too sidetracked here. Let's move on to our next topic. Obviously, there's a lot of teams that are looking to fill those last minute holes in your lineup, and you're looking to the waiver wire to pick up some of those hot names. Obviously, we saw a few injuries this past week, and their replacements are available in many leagues on the waiver wire. But primarily, we're going to focus more on QBs and defenses. Obviously, both of those positions are key to, advancing your team to the next round. So, Austin, I'll start with you. Who's a QB that you like this week as a nice streaming option?
Actually, I kind of expecting to talk about the defenses first. I was very excited about to talk about this defense today. But I guess if we're going quarterback, give me 1 second to pull this up. A guy that I like this week, I cannot believe I'm saying this, if he's in, is Jared Goff.
Wow.
If he's in, Jared Goff. The Lions have been playing a lot better lately. They're actually on, a 2-game win streak at the moment, I believe. They've been out. Jared Goff had his second best game of the season last week against the Cardinals, threw for 3 touchdowns, 216 yards. The Lions are starting to figure it out a little more lately. And they play the Falcons this week, who are the second to worst team in points allowed against quarterbacks. So I expect Goff. I cannot believe it's Jared Goff. I expect him, if he plays, I think he's on the COVID list right now, but if he plays, I expect him to have a big game.
David, what about you? Is there a quarterback you're looking at as a nice streaming option?
I mean, if I can be frank, if you're streaming a quarterback this week,
yeah,
yikes. Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
So we'll do our best to help you out, but honestly, most of these options I see on the waiver wire, I don't know. Like, I put my bar at Dak Prescott, who's a quarterback you normally would play, but has been low scoring lately. So if I were putting that as my bar, if Lamar Jackson were to the second week, Taylor Huntley's a good name to go with. Deeper than that, maybe Matt Ryan in the same matchup that Jett just mentioned there. Against that Lions defense, also been pretty generous to quarterbacks most of the season. Although lately it has been less generous.
Yeah, lately they've been playing a lot better, that defense.
So, like I said, I don't know if I'd play either of those options over. Well, I'd play Taylor Huntley if he's playing, but I don't think I'd play that over Dak Prescott, and that's kind of like my bar.
You have
in my mind.
You got to play Dak. You got to play Dak Prescott over any streaming option.
Yeah, but that's kind of the idea. Like, if you're streaming a quarterback and you're this far to playoffs, you probably have someone who's gotten you to this point, and and that's I was trying to think of a name that has gotten you, but you're concerned with.
Yeah, no. At this point, if you're streaming a quarterback, it's definitely a red flag, and that will not last.
Yeah, I mean, if there is anybody looking for a quarterback, whether it's just a 1 quarterback league or a super flex league, I think the 2 names that both of you guys mentioned, Tyler Huntley and Jared Goff, are probably the 2. They might not be desirable. I mean, Tyler Huntley is definitely more desirable than Jared Goff, but if you are looking for someone, or if you're just, I mean, I would, if Dak Prescott has gotten you this far, even if he has struggled down the stretch, you got to roll out with him. He does have a nice matchup this week against Washington. So if you do have him, I feel like that's someone you have to play.
And he's at home on Sunday Night Football. They need to get their offense going. You got to think that big coming out game is going to happen soon. Dak's been struggling, even as a Giants fan last week, I thought the Giants played really good defense on Dak, even though we stink. But still, I believe Dak's going to have that one big game, and I believe it'll be this Sunday.
I think part of the issue with Dak isn't quite Dak himself, but the offense. I mean, if you watch that Giants game, I mean, how many times have you see 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, we're still running the ball? I mean, the fact is the Cowboys are just playing vanilla offense because they just feel like they have you take the Washington game, they're up 20-0 within by halfway into the first quarter with those 2 turnovers. Same thing with the Giants game. Once they were up 12-3, they had to feel pretty confident that the Giants couldn't score two more times with Mike Lennon. So that has to concern you, because once again, if they get up early against Garrett Gilbert, if he's back out there, or even Heineke, they're just going to try to coast with Corey Clement again.
Which I don't understand. It blows my mind, boggles my mind on why, because that offense just looks so stagnant at the moment and not in sync, and just they've lost that explosiveness factor. And I mean, I don't understand. And that really the past few years, even with Zeke being, in his prime, at least a few years ago, they were a passing team. I mean, they were the most explosive team. And last year before Dak got hurt, that was on pace to average or to put up 6,000 yards. So it's been
a long time since Dallas could get a lead and coast. That defense has been so bad for so long that it is the first time I've seen them ever be able to get a lead and just be like, all right, we can kind of ease up the pressure, not get anyone hurt, get out of here with the W.
Well, unfortunately for Dak owners, you better hope Washington puts up a fight.
Yeah. I mean, we also don't know what Washington's quarterback situation is going to be like, because obviously they're top two. They're COVID list right now, but we'll see if they end up being removed from the COVID list. But let's turn our attention to defense. Obviously, Austin mentioned it before. There's some nice streaming options out there for sure. Obviously, if you have a top defense like a Bucks or a Bills, you most likely are going to play them. But for people that are looking on their waiver wire for those defenses that may be available in their leagues, we're going to help you out and help you pick up the correct defense. So, David, I'll start off with you. Is there a defense that you really like to stream this week that may not be owned in a lot of leagues?
Well, first off, let me just say, if you had the Buccaneers defense, congratulations. They played the Panthers this week. Just good for you. Good. Congratulations ahead of time. A defense that I picked up a lot in a lot of my leagues last week, the stream this week, were the Eagles. Once again, going against the Giants. That offensive line's been not nearly as good as it was early on the season. I mean, Andrew Thomas looks like a starter. The other four look like you can take them and leave them. And it's just not looking good. So I took the Eagles. Eagles defense, the team I picked up. I was looking deeper for teams that are that might not have already picked up defense. Chargers are interesting this week. They have a nice matchup against. Oh shoot! I just lost the Chargers matchup. I think they have
Texans.
Yeah, Davis Mills, and then the Jaguars. Maybe.
Yeah,
Zach Wilson's been generous.
That Jaguars Jets matchup, I mean, it's probably gonna be a very low scoring game. So I feel like both defenses could be potential viable options.
It could be a safe play.
Yeah. Austin, what about you? Do you have a defense that you like for this week?
Yeah, I have a couple options actually. One of them is they had a bad week last week, but I believe they're gonna bounce back at home this week. The Kansas City Chiefs. Lately, they have been a very, very solid defense. They've certainly tightened up, really ever since week 7, I would say. They've gotten a lot better. They haven't let up more than 20 points really lately, except for last week. They had let up 28 before that for, 6 straight games. They let up under 20 points. Playing the Pittsburgh Steelers this week, and we saw them last week get bottled up by Tennessee with basically out any help on offense. So, I mean, the Pittsburgh offense on the field a lot. And they couldn't do anything really for the fourth quarter. And Kansas City is a much better team. I think Kansas City is a great option this week. In addition to them, I also like New Orleans Saints on Monday night against the Miami Dolphins. Understand the Saints had one of the best defensive performances I've seen all year. Jet, I know you're shaking your head because you're a ridiculous Dolphins fan. But the Saints defense is for real, and I think they're going to certainly contain the Dolphins offense. Tua is not a good quarterback. I don't care what you say. He is not a good quarterback. He made the Jets defense look like the 86 or 85 Chicago Bears defense. So yeah, New Orleans also another option.
First of all, Austin, I don't know if you've been watching any Dolphins games this year, but Tua is as accurate as any quarterback over the year. He did obviously start off slow because he was dealing with injuries and stuff, but he has no special talent or whatever, but he gets the job done. He's been winning games for the Dolphins. He made a couple nice throws against the Jets, although he did make a couple bad throws last week. He's been
he had a couple dum-dums. He made a couple dum-dums.
He did. He definitely did. But overall, he's been a very good quarterback, especially over this 6-game winning streak. I don't know where all the hate is coming from for Tua. I think it is not warranted anymore. But I think the Saints defense is only a good play against the Bucks because it seems like they go all out against someone like the Bucks. I mean, I get if you want to potentially play the Saints this week against the Dolphins. I don't think it's a great option.
Of course you don't, because you're a Dolphins fan, because
I just don't believe it is. I
honestly think Tua is a good quarterback.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think the Dolphins defense against the Saints is a better play than the Saints defense versus the Dolphins. Taysom Hill is not a great quarterback. We want to talk about not great quarterbacks. He has the ability to turn the ball over more than Tua. And the Saints offense is very stagnant right now, and I think the Dolphins is even a better play than the Saints. The Dolphins have been hot as of late. So
that's true, but Taysom Hill's ability to throw 4 interceptions and put up 28 points in the same week.
Yeah,
that's also very true. Yeah,
Taysom Hill can do it. He can do it all. Is he a running back? Is he a quarterback? Is he a receiver? Is he a tight end? Is he a lineman? No one knows.
But
He
actually, another option that I really like is the Seattle Seahawks against the Chicago Bears. While the Seahawks don't necessarily have a great defense, they've scored double digits only once this year. They are playing against Justin Fields, and Justin Fields has had a tough time holding on to the ball throughout the year. The Bears are giving up the 5th most points to opposing defenses. The Seahawks held the Rams to 20 points last night. I just think that the Bears are pretty much a mess right now. Whether it's Matt Nagy's fault or Justin Fields' fault, the whole offense is not ideal for fantasy, and I think it's a great idea to target someone like the Seahawks against a poorly ran offense such as the Bears.
A nice thing about the Seahawks too, are they're going to run the ball so much to give the Bears such little opportunity, and the Bears are also going to run the ball. So it's you're not going to kill your team with them.
No, you're right. You make a really good point about that.
That's exactly right.
I think Seattle could be a good stream. However, I don't know, watching the Bears game on Monday night, I think there's a lot of optimism for the Bears, and I think they're missing that one little explosiveness factor. And I think once Fields figures that out, I think the Bears are going to be a pretty good offense in this league. But again, right now, the Bears, with the way they're looking, I'd have to agree. Seattle probably a decent option.
This technically isn't a podcast for this, but here's my thoughts. I think like Fields' biggest dilemma as a quarterback in the NFL is from the point in which he decides I'm throwing the ball here to the point in which the ball gets there is one of the longest trajectories of any quarterback in the NFL that I've seen this year. And with that offensive line just not being nearly as good as the average, it's even below average at this point, I think. He just doesn't have enough time to do what he does. No. On top of all, when you put on top of all that for half the season, Nagy was just having him drop back and never having him boot out right or left. I mean, it's just a recipe of disaster.
I don't know why they continue to make Fields a pocket passer instead of using his athleticism to their advantage. Especially, and they should do that against a Seattle team that really cannot defend anybody, as we saw last night against the Rams. Cooper Kupp had once again a ridiculous game. So yeah,
can I rant real quick? Why I have a medium?
Go for it.
All right, I have seen this phrase 1,000 times in like the past 2 weeks. Somewhere in the media, someone says, "Why don't you just double Cooper Kupp?" You don't think teams are trying that? Right. Like the minute you start bringing the safety up to cover Cooper Kupp's mid-tier routes, that's when you see Van Jefferson, Odell Beckham, Deshaun Jackson, whoever, insert name here, go over the middle on some sort of long post route, get behind the safety, and make that big play. And the fact is Matt Stafford can make the throw every time. That's why people do not double Cooper Kupp.
Yeah, you can't. Exactly.
It's such lazy,
analysis.
It's just lazy.
It's a lazy analysis. Like doubling Cooper
exactly.
Kupp. Once you double Cooper Kupp, they have so many other explosive weapons on their team. Even out of the backfield, guys like Henderson and Michelle, they could both catch out of the backfield. So it's
like, sure, Bill Belichick could just double Cooper Kupp. Not every team can do that.
No, Bill Belichick's in a level. He's on a level of his own. Like I don't know how he does it every week, but he does. But they're probably the only team that can get away with doubling a receiver and actually being competitive.
Yeah, exactly. That's just my Cooper Kupp rant.
I like it. And Jett, so real quick, do you have any other streaming options that is not a defense and not a quarterback this week? Anyone else you thinking of picking up?
I mean, at this point in the season, if you are, obviously there has been a lot of injuries with guys like Chris Godwin, Leonard Fournette. So there are potential names that I am looking at to pick up to replace some of these guys. Obviously, the main one is someone like Ronald Jones, who's going to have a big workload this upcoming week against the Panthers. I think another potential good option could be someone like Gabriel Davis on the Buffalo Bills. Now with Emmanuel Sanders out, Gabe Davis has carved himself a nice role on this Buffalo Bills offense. It is a tough matchup this week against the Bills, but against the Patriots. And obviously a lot of that attention is going to be on Stephon Diggs. So I think Gabe Davis could have a nice option as a nice flex play, even though it might be hard to trust him in the semifinals for many fantasy leagues this year.
I like that.
You're absolutely right. I mean, Bill Belichick's known for taking out your top weapon. and they're just going to need to rely on a secondary option, whether it's Dawson Knox, whether it's Gabriel Davis. It's going to be somebody. So if you need a Hail Mary, that's a great pick.
I agree. And another guy I actually love for this week, he has been on fire lately. I was actually very high on him at the beginning of the season, coming out of USC. He, was started off very slow, but he's found his stride. He's been balling the last 3 weeks. Amon-Ra St. Brown of the Detroit Lions. Well, look, Amon-Ra St. Brown, listen, this week goes up against the Falcons. They are the 4th worst defense against receivers. Last week, he torched the Cardinals for 8 catches for 90 yards and a touchdown. And I think he's going to continue that this week. Jared Goff's looking a lot better. The lines are looking a lot better. And as long as DeAndre Swift is out, I believe they're going to be still relying on the throw. So give me Amon-Ra St. Brown. If you want to Hail Mary play, I think he's the guy.
Yeah, I think that's a great option. I feel like there's probably a lot of leagues that he's no longer available in, but there's definitely still a lot of leagues out there that he is available in. And even if DeAndre Swift were to return this week, Amon-Ra St. Brown is clearly that number 1 wide receiver on the Lions, especially with no TJ Hawkinson right now. So that's a great option to throw Amon-Ra St. Brown into your lineups for this week. All right, we're going to move on to our final segment of the show. We're going to be talking about some guys that we think have very nice matchups this week, some guys that we think are going to take you to the fantasy championships. Austin, why don't I start off with you?
Well, for me, let's see, my first guy of the week, he's going to have another huge week. I love him. I call him Mr. Consistent. He actually splits that with Deontay Johnson. But my guy is Keenan Allen. He plays Houston this week. Houston is a awful defense. Keenan Allen's been balling out lately, and as usual, especially since the Chargers lost last week against the Chiefs, I imagine they're going to be throwing, and Eckler may not even be in. And if that's the case, I believe Keenan's going to get a huge workload. So I think Keenan's in for a monster week this week.
I'll go ahead. I'll go with my option. This guy's going to have a huge week, not necessarily hoping that he does have a good week because I am playing against Austin in another league, but James Robinson on the Jacksonville Jaguars is set up for a monster game. He bounced back last week with 75 rushing yards and a touchdown in route to 18 fantasy points against the Texans. His matchup gets even better against the Jets this week. The Jets are allowing the most fantasy points to opposing running backs. Obviously, they just gave up over 100 yards and 2 touchdowns to Duke Johnson Jr. James Robinson is much more talented than him, and he should have no problem running all over this Jets team. Now that Urban Meyer's gone, James Robinson is going to get the full workload that he deserves, and he is going to have a great day this week.
Well, I appreciate the compliment. Thank you, Jeff.
I have him against David in the Blitz League anyway, so I guess it's a win-win.
I guess I'll return the favor. I actually am a believer in Michael Pittman this week to have a bounce back game. I
like to hear that.
Last week got locked up by J.C. Jackson and the Patriots. He got ejected, I believe, in the middle of the 3rd quarter, I want to say, after I think having 1 catch for 7 yards. But I think Pittman's in for a big bounce back week. The Cardinals are struggling at the moment defensively. This got led up by the Rams 2 weeks ago, by the Lions last week. The Colts are making a big playoff push right now. They're one of the hottest teams in the league. So I think Michael Pittman's in for one of those, 8 catches, 100 yards, 90 yards in the touchdown kind of weeks. So I love Michael Pittman right now.
I'll go with another one. I think the Bengals receiving core is going to go off this week against the Ravens. The Ravens have everyone on injured reserve on the COVID list. T. Higgins, Jamar Chase, Tyler Boyd. Any of those options are going to have a big day. Joe Burrow diced up the same Ravens defense several weeks back. Jamar Chase went off for 30-plus points. Not saying he's going to do that again.
Who called that, by the way? Who called that?
Who called that? I
said Jamar Chase should have his first 200-yard game of the year.
You did call that. That was big that you did call that. Hopefully you can maybe call that again and maybe it'll happen.
See, my prediction this week is that the Ravens have not forgotten what the Bengals did to them last time, and I believe they're going to come out and play really hard. And I believe it's actually going to be a lower scoring game, and I think the Ravens come out on top. because they got some revenge on their mind right now. They want nothing more than take down their division rival, especially after losing to them a few weeks ago. And David, so any guys you think this week are worth picking up, or guys you think are going to lead their teams to the finals this week?
All right, I got 2 names. The first name, check your free agency. He might be there. Odds are he's not. But just take a peek, see if Antonio Brown's available. We talked about the injuries to the Buccaneers wide receiver. He's supposed to be back this week, and the Buccaneers need him. And I guess, as upset as they were about the backstart situation, they're not as upset when they need him. That's how that goes. But yeah, I think he will be. I think he might lead teams to a championship, honestly, with the hold of Chris Godwin. And then another player to look for in the same matchup we keep mentioning, Lions and Falcons. There should be a lot of points scored. Russell Gage has been the top receiver for the Falcons for weeks now.
Russell Gage.
I expect teams are really zeroing in on Pitts, and Gage is the beneficiary of it.
I love that a lot. I actually, in the Blitz League, I actually picked him up, and I've actually started him the past couple of weeks, and he has been incredible for me. I've been very happy starting this guy. He's been balling lately. I love that pick. I really do. And I'd be confident starting him this week.
Like he's nothing special athletically, but he gets open, and when he's one-on-one, and he's just one-on-one with that team. It'd be crazy to see what that team would be like with the Calvin Ridley on it.
Yeah. And Ryan finds him. Matt Ryan finds him.
Matt Ryan's still playing well. If you watch the Falcons, Matt Ryan's not a problem with Falcons.
He's playing as well as he can, considering they don't have much of a defense and they don't have many skilled players on offense.
If Matt Ryan were on the Steelers would be a Super Bowl contender, and it might be one of the favorites. Just to put it into a vacuum. Easily.
Completely agree.
Austin, do you have another guy that you like this week?
Yeah. If he's available on the waiver wire, I love Hunter Henry this week. Henry's in for a monster week. Forget Henry. My bad. Jared Cook. Sorry. Jared Cook. My apologies. Jared Cook. This is really for someone who either has Darren Waller out this week, or has Kelsey, who may be out, or who just needs a tight end stream, who's been doing it all year. Jared Cook is Mr. Consistent. Houston's one of the worst teams against tight ends. Last week, James O'Shaughnessy, the Jaguars, led the team in yards. 2 weeks ago, Gerald Everett of the Seattle Seahawks scored a touchdown. In week 5, we saw Hunter Henry light up the Texans for 6 catches, 75 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Especially now, Eckler, who may not be available. Again, I expect Herbert to maybe air it out a little more, and I think this is a great week for Jared Cook to have a touchdown and to put up 10 to 12 points for the week.
Yeah, one more name that I like going off that tight end position. I like Zach Ertz this week in a matchup against the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are allowing the 3rd most points to opposing tight ends, and a lot of that is due to that big game they gave it to Mark Andrews a while back where he scored over 40 points. But besides that, now that DeAndre Hopkins will not be playing for the rest of the regular season, potentially longer, you got AJ Green, Christian Kirk, but Kyler Murray likes getting the ball to Zach Ertz, and especially down in the red zone, down at the goal line situation, Zach Ertz is going to be a big target to find for Kyler Murray. I think Zach Ertz has a nice game. If you are struggling at the tight end position, which a lot of people still are, whether it be injuries or just guys underperforming, Zach Ertz presents a nice option to plug into your lineup this week.
Speaking of the Cardinals, and this is the last thing I'll say before we wrap up, Jett and David, what do you guys think of James Conner this week and Chase Edmonds? What are your views on that?
I play stick with what works. Play James Conner. I know Edmonds is back, but Conner's clearly won the role there, I think. And Edmonds been on that team for years, and they just refuse to give him that workhorse role. And they don't give him the ball in like that 10 zone, 5 zone area. If you're gonna play, you need to play the guy that scores touchdowns.
Yeah, James Conner has been a beast all year. I know a lot of it was when Chase Edmonds was out of the lineup. Obviously, Chase Edmonds provides a nice, asset out of the backfield as a receiving option, but James Conner is just as good of a receiver, if not better. I think it's just the problem is that these two guys are going to be in a committee. I prefer still James Conner over Chase Edmonds. I still think he will, even though it will be a committee, he'll be like the 1A to Chase Edmonds, who will be the 1B. I think it's a lot harder to trust both of these guys, but I think if James Conner got you to this point to roll him out in your lineup, I do trust Chase Edmonds a lot less than James Conner.
Yeah, Edmonds just gets to work between the 20s, and there's points to be had there, but not to the degree that Conner does. I don't know. I still have full trust in James Conner at this point.
Absolutely, yeah.
At least to be a high end RB2.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah,
absolutely.
Can I throw one more name out there real quick before we go to the final segment or the final thoughts?
Go for it. Yeah,
James O'Shaughnessy. I know this seems like a weird play, but if you're desperate and you want to make a Hail Mary, I mean, the Jets are at the 30th or 31st against tight ends, and he's been getting 6 to 8 targets every week. It's probably not going to work out, but if you need a Hail Mary, James O'Shaughnessy's out there.
At this point in the year, I mean, listen, about taking risks. Sometimes you got to be a little bold in times like these. A lot of times it actually works out, so I like the play for sure. I've been seeing his name a lot lately. James O'Shaughnessy, him and Lawrence seem to have developed a very good chemistry.
Have you seen how he's leaned on Dan Arnold? And even Asani had 8 targets his first game before he got hurt for most of the season. I mean, it's where Lawrence goes to the ball when he's under pressure. He's under pressure a lot.
Yeah, they're disgrace.
Absolutely, yeah. Before we get out of here, I just want to get at both of your guys' final thoughts and takeaways as we get into Week 16 of the NFL season. Austin, what's the one thing you want to happen or you expect to happen, whether it be NFL or fantasy related?
Well, first off, personally, I expect to not only advance to the finals in the Blitz League, but I expect to take you down in our home league as well. In addition, I expect David to take you down in the Blitz League. So that means you'll have 2 losses in 1 week, which is very impressive for you. Not many people can say that if they lose 2 semifinals matchups in the same week. In terms of the NFL, every week I like to say, this is the week my New York Giants get on track, but this is just not going to happen. It's been a very disappointing season for sure. But what I do expect,
disappointing decade.
It's been I don't want to talk about it. I do expect the Niners to come out tomorrow night and light up Tennessee. I expect Kittle to have a huge game. I can't wait for Christmas football. Packers, Browns, Colts, Cardinals. That Colts-Cardinals game is going to be really good. I expect the Colts to actually upset the Cardinals that day. Jonathan Taylor's been on he's like a lock to score a touchdown every single week. Not that we're talking about betting, but if you want to bet on Taylor to score a touchdown, feel free to put it in every single week. It's like a guarantee at this point. And other than that, I'm just excited for the semifinals. I cannot believe we're already here.
What about you, David? What are you looking forward to, or what are you expecting this upcoming week?
Well, I was pretty fortunate. I play in 8 redraft leagues, and I was in a bye week in 5 of them. So I did one of them. I didn't really care about. It was a work league, and it got messy early on with clearly colluding. So 7 real leagues. But unfortunately, injuries were bad to me. So I'm a little nervous. As far as the NFL goes, there's nothing more I want than a Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl win. But if that is not the case, by the way, guys, I'm a Cowboys fan.
Okay.
There's nothing more I want. There's nothing I want more than a Los Angeles Chargers versus Los Angeles Rams in Los Angeles Super Bowl.
That'd be
First
awesome.
of all,
yeah.
The storyline. I mean, Justin Herbert was the quarterback nobody wanted in that draft class. Now he's easily the best. Eckler's hard not to root for. Keenan Allen's the most underrated receiver for the past decade. I mean, Chargers just a hard team not to root for. And then Matt Stafford finally getting out of Detroit. It's just a fun storyline. It's all in LA. I'd love for that to happen.
Yeah, that would be definitely a very fun Super Bowl, considering both of those teams are now in LA and all the storylines surrounding them. For sure, that would be an exciting Super Bowl matchup. For this upcoming week, for me, obviously I want to win in all of the leagues that I am in the semifinals in. Obviously, it's not going to be easy, whether it's going up against David or going up against Austin, but I'm looking forward to both of those matchups. Hopefully, some of my guys come through in the clutch when I need them most. As for an NFL related thing, I want my Dolphins just to keep the train moving. I want people to start hopping on that Tua train because rightfully so. He has performed extremely well throughout this winning streak and through the whole regular season. Unfortunately, the losses to the Jaguars and the Falcons might end up coming back to haunt us, potentially missing out on the playoffs because of that. But I'm hoping that the Dolphins show out on Monday Night Football against the Saints.
If your Dolphins can clip the playoffs, this guy makes it quite a bit of money because I made a early season bet when Dolphins were like 1-7 that they were gonna make playoffs.
Wow,
so this guy will make bank.
Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a team in NFL history that has made the playoffs after starting 1-7. So that would be history in the making for sure, and you would definitely profit off of that for sure.
You know how funny it would be for the Dolphins to do all that work to make the playoffs just to get bounced in the first round.
That's fine with me. I still get paid.
That would be all. Oh, no, I'm sure you're good at that. I'm really talking to Jett here.
Just gonna swing back because my mic was kind of messed up right part of the conversation. Tua's a good quarterback, man. He's good.
No, he's not. No, he's not. Tua is fake. He's not a good quarterback. He cannot make that big throw to win the game. He's not a winner. No, you know why you guys have been a lot better lately? Because your defense has been playing a lot better lately.
Tua's been playing great too. We still got to score points, and we have been. So.
No, your defense has been balling lately, and I give you credit. Waddle is a stud. I love that. I love me some Waddle. Don't get me wrong, but Tua is not the guy. You need to stop at the Tua experiment. You need to get yourself to Deshaun Watson or go after a real quarterback and get away from Tua. He's not it. I'm sorry. Not sorry, though.
Coming into this past week, he led the NFL in completion percentage.
I don't care. You know why? All he does is throw short. That's all he does.
That's not true. I know. Austin, after we get done with this, I'm going to send you a bunch of clips of some of the balls dropped into the bucket of Devontae Parker's arms last week. I'll send you.
I'm just listening to something you're bragging about Tua beating up on the New York Jets. Just saying. Let that sink in quickly. Just like David's going to be beating up on you this week, it's the same thing, dude. Like, if David beats you, there's nothing to brag about. Like, it's expected.
I will say this. Waddle's average yards per reception has gone up almost 3 yards in the past 4 weeks. That's not nothing.
No, it's not. But except for Waddle, Tua cannot make a good throw deep. I'm sorry. He just doesn't throw. He's not a good quarterback. He's okay. He has his moments for sure. Listen, I take him right now over who the Giants have at the moment, but still, he's not a good quarterback. Like, he is the Jet Rosenstein of quarterback. If we're talking about fantasy football, like, he's average. He'll have his moments, but he can never get the job done. You know what I mean?
Like, no, I don't know what you mean.
Okay, well, soon enough. After this week, you'll know what I mean.
Wow.
Oh, David, this is every week. This is every week.
Oh, I am a loyal listener. Don't worry. I know.
All right, episode 19, guys. We made it through. David, we appreciate you coming on to join us. You provided some valuable insights, and we hopefully can come back and join the show. Maybe post my victory over you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Next time don't be so modest. Tell us how you really feel.
Well, next time I'll brag about my Blitz League championship.
Whoa. I just meant against Jett, not against. You know you're not beating me. But all right, I like the optimism.
All right, David, thank you so much.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you guys for letting me join you. I appreciate forcing my voice into people's ear holes.
We appreciate it, David. Appreciate having it on the show. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
All right, and that's Austin. Anything to add before we get out of here?
Nah, Jett, you know the drill, man. Send us off.
If you cannot handle the heat, get out of the kitchen.
Damn right, Jett.
Thank you, guys, and we will see you next time.
See you guys.
Goodbye.